Ethan and I had been in a long-term relationship for 10 years when he finally proposed to me. However, he repeatedly delayed getting the marriage certificate, insisting it should happen after the wedding. I still agreed. But 1 week before the wedding, I discovered his hidden wish list. It was filled with things he wanted to do for his first love. Over the past 10 years, he had already accomplished thousands of them. From small gestures like buying rings to grand ones like traveling the world together. Later, my childhood friend confessed his love for me. I asked him to hold a simple temporary wedding next door, and then silently watched Ethan immerse himself in his pretense. On the wedding day, I walked into the next door venue in my wedding dress. "I'm not marrying Ethan, I'm marrying you." I called Adrian, my childhood friend who had always silently accompanied me. I asked him to prepare a simple wedding next door to Ethan and my wedding venue, and to time it the same. After hanging up, I stared blankly at the wish list on Ethan's computer for his first love. I never touched his computer because he didn't like it. This time, there was an urgent file from his company on his computer, and since I couldn't reach him, he asked me to forward it. I didn't know where it was, so I had to search one by one, but unexpectedly, I saw a special document. It was filled with things Ethan wanted to do for his first love. In our 10 years together, he had completed thousands of them. From buying rings to global travels. Only then did I realize that all those times he told me he was on business trips, he was actually accompanying his first love to fulfill her various wishes. 10 years, business trips every year, accompanying his first love every year. And under each completed wish, Ethan had noted his thoughts. When putting the ring on Fiona, I clearly saw the smile on her face, as if it illuminated my entire world. At that moment, I wished so much that the bride at my wedding could be her. I smiled bitterly. In our 10 years together, every time I mentioned marriage, he would lose his temper, saying I disregarded his career. But in here, he was full of longing for marriage, just not with me as the partner. "This trip is ending. I'm happy to accompany her to see the beauty of the world, but Sophia keeps calling me. Can't she stop being so nagging like my mom?" The word nagging stung my eyes. Clearly, I called to care for him because I was afraid he wouldn't eat properly on business trips, afraid he was lonely alone, afraid he missed me. But it turns out, I was the clown all along, someone had been by his side for a long time. I was just being sentimental. After reading the thousands of things he did for his first love, bitterness welled up uncontrollably in my heart. He never proactively did anything for me. On Valentine's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, he always said he was busy. I believed him, thinking he didn't like such forms and wasn't good at expressing emotions. So I was understanding. After being rejected a few times, I never mentioned holidays again, afraid it would upset him. It wasn't until this moment that I fully woke up. That packed wish list was filled with Ethan's love for his first love. It was like a slap, landing hard on my face. My 10 years seemed like a joke. Ethan doesn't love me, and I don't want him anymore. Adrian sent me a few wedding dress photos. I carefully chose one, and he excitedly went to prepare. Ethan hadn't contacted me either, saying this period was his last freedom, to spend well with his brothers, strictly forbidding my disturbance. However, he posted a photo on Facebook. A woman smiling coquettishly and charmingly leaned in his arms. Caption: "My beloved has finally come to my side." Upon refreshing again, this Facebook post vanished without a trace. I knew I had been blocked. In our 10 years together, he never posted a single photo of me on Facebook. No matter how I requested, he wouldn't budge, saying posting about relationships on Facebook was too childish and unnecessary. But now, looking at it, it wasn't unnecessary, it was just that I wasn't worthy. I didn't want to guess how many such Facebook posts he made in these 10 years. I was tired. Until 5 days before the wedding, his brother called me. "Sister-in-law, today at our class reunion, Ethan got drunk, why don't you come over?" They hung up without waiting for my answer. I picked up my bag, and in my peripheral vision, I saw the tie casually discarded in the sofa corner by Ethan. It was the anniversary gift I gave him not long ago, but he never wore it. Now it was covered in dust. I stared quietly, then suddenly threw it directly into the trash bin. Next to the trash bin, an inconspicuous hair tie caught my eye. It was the one I gave Ethan, wanting him to wear it on his wrist to claim ownership. He said it was too childish and refused to wear it. I believed him. But I remembered, in the recent Facebook photo, he had a hair tie on his wrist. It just wasn't mine. I picked it up and tied it in my hair. Since Ethan didn't care for it, give it back to me. Besides that, the room was full of his traces, making me extremely uncomfortable. I directly packed all his things and threw them into the downstairs trash bin. Then I hurried to the bar. Walking to the private room door, the cheering sounds inside assaulted my eardrums wave after wave. Ethan, Fiona, back then you were called the Golden Boy and Jade Girl, today you've finally reunited. I pushed the door open expressionlessly. Instantly, the world went quiet. Everyone stared at me stunned. The man I loved for 10 years, who was to marry me in 5 days, was now holding a beautiful woman, his head drooping on her shoulder, in an extremely ambiguous pose. Ethan's brothers didn't expect me to arrive so quickly and hurriedly tried to pull Ethan away. But Ethan was truly drunk, holding Fiona tightly, unwilling to let go, burying his face deeper into her neck. No, I want Fiona, Fiona. Fiona, you can't leave me. His brothers quickly explained to me. We're playing a game, whoever's name is called drinks, and it was Fiona's turn. Yes, Ethan's tolerance is getting worse, he got drunk just like that. His brother exerted tremendous effort to barely pull him off Fiona. From beginning to end, Fiona had a faint smile on her face. Hello, I'm Fiona, don't misunderstand, we're just junior high classmates. Although we've had occasional contact over these 10 years, it's all normal interaction. Ethan's brothers echoed beside, yes, sister-in-law, don't overthink, you and Ethan are about to get married. If it were before, I would have rushed up to question. But now, I wouldn't. Looking at Ethan's loyal brothers, I just smiled and watched them perform. After all, the one walking the red carpet with me soon would be Adrian, not Ethan. Actually, I had to thank Ethan for persistently persuading me to hold the wedding first and get the certificate later. Seeing I didn't make a scene, everyone was relieved and started introducing to Fiona. Fiona, this is Ethan's fiancée Sophia. Not fiancé. The always dazed Ethan suddenly spoke, his voice carrying annoyance, we're just ordinary friends. She's not my fiancé, I don't want her to be my fiancé. After saying that, he looked at Fiona with a pitiful expression, Fiona, you know me, right? She and I are fake, it's for. The surroundings instantly quieted, his brothers' faces changed. One quickly covered Ethan's mouth, Ethan, you're drunk. I forced a smile, my fingernails digging into my flesh. Only the pain in my hand could make me forget the pain in my heart. Actually, I should have gotten used to it long ago, right? After all, he never wanted to make my existence public. His Facebook, photo albums, and family, whether private spaces or social platforms, he was unwilling to leave any traces related to me. It was my wishful thinking, numbing myself time and again. I mustered my spirit to look at Fiona. Hello, I'm Ethan's ordinary friend Sophia. Everyone's expressions were somewhat unnatural. Fiona, as if unaware, handed me the wine in her hand. Miss Sophia should drink, right? Since you're here, have a couple of glasses? I didn't take it. Fiona frowned, does Miss Sophia dislike me? So you don't want to drink my wine? Everyone noticed the awkward atmosphere and signaled Ethan to say something. Ethan was somewhat sober now, irritably rubbing his forehead. Sophia, this is your first time meeting Fiona, don't make it so awkward, it doesn't look good for everyone. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, sorry, I'm allergic to alcohol. Ethan was somewhat impatient, it's just alcohol allergy, how serious can it be? Besides, Fiona is kind-hearted and knows moderation, what's wrong with a couple of sips? Making it seem like it's life-threatening. But this wine really could take my life. Ethan had seen my alcohol allergy reaction before. When sent to the hospital, the doctors rescued me for a long time before I retrieved my life. At that time, he was scared, holding my hand and saying he would take good care of me and protect me in the future. But now, to please his first love, he was forcing me to drink. Just then, Fiona casually reached for the snacks on the table. Ethan, originally leaning on the cushion, suddenly stood up and knocked the snack out of Fiona's hand. "You can't eat peanuts, the allergy is very serious." Fiona was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "You misread, this is the private room's special snack, not peanuts. Besides, when I said I was allergic to peanuts before, it was a joke, how did you take it seriously?" For a moment, the atmosphere in the room became weird. Watching the two, my heart trembled. He couldn't remember my alcohol allergy, even after I said I was allergic, he still forced me to drink. But he could remember Fiona's casual joke. In the end, he just didn't care about me. 10 years. I had said so many times that I was allergic to alcohol. But he never took it to heart once. He really doesn't love me. This sentence slapped my face like a palm again and again. I couldn't help but wake up. Fiona smiled at me. "Ethan is always like this, caring for me seems like a subconscious behavior. Miss Sophia, don't mind too much." I clenched my molars without speaking. Fiona didn't care. "A couple of days ago, I sprained my ankle. Ethan has been accompanying me, taking care of me, cooking for me and such, so he hasn't contacted Miss Sophia these days." "Miss Sophia, please don't blame Ethan." She said it lightly. But my heart felt terrible. I forced a smile, took Ethan, and walked out. Unknowingly, my tears covered my cheeks. These 10 years, I had truly lived a complete failure. Back home. Ethan's phone kept ringing. I opened the phone and found messages from his brother. "Ethan, today's Azure field was really exciting, soothe sister-in-law well, don't let the wedding go wrong, or your plan will fail." My heart skipped a beat. I scrolled up the chat history and saw the messages Ethan sent to his brother. "Fiona wants to experience eloping with me on my wedding day. This is her wish, I must help her realize it. Bring a few brothers to help organize, don't publicize it. No need to worry about Sophia, she'll obediently be the bride. Everyone help me keep it secret, this time, I must give Fiona a surprise." Looking at the phone, tears fell uncontrollably, my heart felt like it was being gripped hard, unable to breathe. No wonder when he proposed, there was nothing, no ring, no promises. He didn't even notify both parents. It turns out, this was a complete lie. I thought our 10-year-long run was finally ending. I was originally full of joy anticipating the future, but it was all fake. All because Ethan wanted to please Fiona, creating this illusion. But it doesn't matter, anyway, we're about to end soon. Ethan and I only have 5 days left, time to say goodbye properly. Not long after getting home, Ethan sobered up. "Where's my toothbrush?" Ethan searched around and couldn't find it. The toothbrush was dirty, I threw it away. "You haven't come back these 2 days, so I didn't buy a new one." Ethan frowned, his voice somewhat irritable. "Are you blaming me for not coming back these 2 days?" I suddenly remembered how gentle he was with Fiona. "Just buy one when you go out later." Ethan impatiently, "What nonsense are you spouting again? Isn't this always your job? How would I know which brand to buy?" I smiled bitterly. Ethan could care for Fiona without complaint for so many days, cook for her, work tirelessly. Yet for something small like buying a toothbrush, he wanted me to do it personally. Indeed, the power of a first love is incomparable to ordinary people. 2 days later was the day to choose the wedding dress. Early that morning, Ethan drove the car out, looking impatient. At first, I was puzzled. After all, he had never been enthusiastic about this wedding. But when I arrived at the wedding dress shop and saw the clothing store across, I understood. That was Fiona's newly opened shop. At the same time, it was one of Fiona's wishes. Ridiculously, its realization even involved my contribution. Initially, Ethan supported his first love's world tour, spent all his money, then used my savings, saying it was for investment. In the end, not a penny was returned. He said it was all lost. For this, he was particularly self-blaming and guilty. I believed it then and comforted him for a long time. Thinking back now, I was really a fool. I casually chose a wedding dress, anyway, it wouldn't be used. When I prepared to go to the fitting room, I saw Ethan eagerly running across. When I came out, I watched him and Fiona walking laughing all the way, holding freshly bought milk tea. I walked out and stopped Ethan. Ethan frowned. "Why did you come out?" "I'll be back soon." Looking at his missing groom suit, I softly said, "I have a headache, I want to go home." He was momentarily speechless. I didn't want to say more, turned and left. Before leaving, I heard Ethan's voice in my ear. "Fiona, don't mind too much, we weren't very intimate, I never touched her." Strangely enough, this headache came without warning. I went to the hospital, the doctor said I should avoid worries. I understood then. Perhaps in 3 more days, when I marry Adrian, this illness will be cured. When Ethan returned, he carried a bag of medicine. "This is medicine for headaches." I didn't speak. Doesn't he know that medicine can't be taken randomly? Seeing I didn't move, his face darkened a bit. Today I didn't expect to run into Fiona. Don't overthink, there was no substantial relationship between us. Rest well, we're about to get married, don't drop the ball. After saying that, he entered the room with a cold face. I sneered. Was he afraid I would affect the gift he carefully prepared for Fiona? Early the next morning, he disappeared, no news for 3 consecutive days. Until the morning of the wedding day, he suddenly called to question me. "Sophia, your parents video called asking if I'm marrying you. Did you tell them about the wedding?" "I told you long ago, I just want a simple wedding, no inviting relatives or friends, don't you understand?" "Explain this to your parents yourself, remember not to blab again. Otherwise, bear the consequences. Fiona is unwell in the hospital, take a cab to the wedding venue yourself, I have no time to pick you up." I hung up directly. Didn't want to explain, no time to explain. Because Adrian's bridal escort team had arrived at my doorstep. Adrian in a suit, his handsome face full of excitement and joy, holding 99 roses looking at me. Then carefully helped me into the car, like treating a rare treasure. When I stood outside in my wedding dress waiting, listening to the lively sounds inside, I turned to look next door. It was cold and empty there, no one arrived. At this time Ethan called. He started with a complaining tone. "Where are you? I heard you haven't gone to the wedding venue? What temper are you throwing again? Do you know, Fiona is sick but still rushed to attend the ceremony, and yet you're so willful. When can you be sensible?" Saying that, he issued an ultimatum. "I give you 10 minutes, no matter where you are now, hurry to prepare for the wedding. If you still want to marry me, don't make trouble at this time." After saying that, he hung up without giving me a chance to speak. Looking at the phone, I coldly typed a few words. "Ethan, I'm not marrying you, we're completely over." I turned off the phone, looked up, just in time to hear the MC loudly announce the bride's entrance. The door slowly opened, I smiled, and walked in. When Adrian put the ring on me, I was somewhat dazed. I loved Ethan for 10 years, I always thought we would make it to the end, but in the end, the one putting the ring on me wasn't him. This time with Adrian was just an act, I felt somewhat sorry for him, using his affection for me. But I liked Ethan for 10 years, I really couldn't accept another person so quickly. But I was trying hard to retrieve my heart. My helplessness, Adrian saw in his eyes, didn't speak. Just the warmth from his palm, and the love filling those eyes, gradually steadied my heart. Ceremony ended. After turning on the phone, a call came unexpectedly. It was Ethan. "Sophia. What are you fussing about again? Why didn't you answer my calls? Why didn't you go to the wedding venue? Where the hell are you? Are you mute? Can't you speak? I was just a bit late, and you throw a tantrum, what are you fussing about?" After he finished a string of words without stopping, I spoke expressionlessly. "Finished? Didn't you see the message I sent? Do I need to tell you again that we're over?" Ethan, we're adults, I hope you can be mature. No more chat, I have to go toast. Toast? Toast what? Sophia, explain. Ethan's furious voice came from the other end. I hung up without waiting for him to finish. Conveniently pulled this number into the blacklist. Adrian looked at me worriedly. I shook my head, indicating I was fine, then toasted with him. Just as the toasting was about to end, Ethan suddenly burst in, not wearing the groom suit but a simple shirt. He hadn't even groomed his hair. Sophia, you dare marry someone else? Ethan with red eyes, looking at my wedding dress, in disbelief. He rushed over like crazy. Adrian quickly blocked in front of me, protecting me tightly. Ethan was angrier, yelling at me, "This is your groom? Childhood sweethearts, how wonderful, how did I not discover your filthy affairs privately? I liked you so much, do you deserve me? Sophia, we dated for 10 years, today should be our wedding, but you shamelessly ran here to marry someone else, have you considered my face? You person, do you have a heart?" Ethan's eyes were red as if I betrayed him first. But clearly, he played me for 10 years, even the wedding I long anticipated was just his plot to win a smile from his first love. Ethan, it was you who disregarded my face first. You betrayed me first, don't pretend like I owe you so much, it's utterly disgusting. I tell you, today is my wedding, you're not welcome here, please leave. Don't make me look down on you anymore. Ethan, unwilling to leave, pushed Adrian away and rushed to grab me, but was directly dragged out by Adrian's groomsmen. After the wedding officially ended, Adrian didn't take me back to his home. He saw my intentions, didn't want to take advantage, wanted me to think clearly. He said, treat this wedding as his dream, don't have psychological burden. Under his insistence, I rented a new house and moved out. I didn't plan to return to the house bought with Ethan. On the way, my phone kept ringing. All different numbers, but IP locations all local. I answered one earlier, it was Ethan. These must all be his tactics. I blacklisted those numbers one by one, then slowly flipped through chat records, finally cleared and deleted all. In the album, photos I took of Ethan, including ones I grabbed him for, I carefully looked at each, then deleted all. I removed traces of my love with Ethan from the phone bit by bit, also retrieving my heart bit by bit. I want to completely drive him out of my life. After clearing, my phone directly freed half its memory. He was still persistently changing numbers to call. I smiled bitterly. In the past 10 years, the calls he initiated to me probably weren't as many as today's calls. Suddenly, a strange SMS popped up. I thought it was Ethan changing tactics, but opening it, it was Fiona. Miss Sophia, really sorry, I only learned about your wedding today. Don't blame Ethan, he's just used to pleasing me. I've advised him, but he always thinks my health is more important than anything. When you reconcile with him later, advise him more, don't let him focus only on me and neglect you. I didn't care how she got my number. I just silently replied, we won't reconcile, I don't care for his attention. Since you treasure him so much, he's yours. After sending, I directly blacklisted her number too. Since ending, make it thorough. After leaving Ethan, I lived comfortably for a few days, thinking Ethan and I would never meet again. But unexpectedly, just as I went downstairs to throw trash, turning around, I met Ethan with eyes full of red bloodshots. I was startled. How did you find here? He with red eyes, I investigated clearly, you left me because of Adrian? What's good about him? Where does he surpass me? Was I not good to you? What more do you want? Stop throwing tantrums, if you think I'm too close to Fiona, I can ignore her less, come back with me. Making a big fuss is bad for everyone. These words made me nauseous. How did I not discover before how shameless he was? A trace of impatience appeared on Ethan's face, why do you say that about me? Then tell me, where did I wrong you? Where is Adrian better? Truly, a sudden suitor can't beat a childhood friend. I sneered, at least he won't hide a full wish list for his first love in the computer. At least he won't buy a ring for his first love but be reluctant to buy one for me. At least he won't play me publicly, intending to elope with his first love on the wedding day, making me a laughingstock. Word by word, each voicing my pain. Listening, his impatience faded, instead, panic in his eyes increased. How do you know? Didn't I tell you not to touch my things? Why didn't you listen? Do you like peeping into others' privacy that much? Don't flatter yourself, your friend's work file was on your computer, he couldn't reach you and needed it urgently, so he found me to help send it. It's thanks to you meticulously recording it, otherwise, I couldn't imagine how embarrassing I would be when your plan reached the wedding day. I turned to leave but was grabbed by him. At this time, Ethan's phone rang. It was his brother, Ethan. Fiona had a car accident, come to the hospital quick. Ethan interrupted his brother, impatiently scolding, car accident, find a doctor, no money, find family, what's the use finding me? I'm neither a doctor nor her family, I'm busy now, don't call me whether something or nothing. He turned off the phone, looking at me guiltily. Sophia, this matter isn't as you think. Fiona and I are really just friends, we grew up together, so I cared for her a bit more. The chat records you saw were just jokes with friends, I really wanted to marry you. This wedding, my original plan was to completely cut ties with her. He explained in every way, hoping I would believe him. But to me, all were excuses. Ethan, we're really over. Ethan shook his head, blocking my way. No, we're not over. He with red eyes, extremely haggard mentally, whole person drooping, looking fragile. If before, I would have been heartbroken and forgiven him directly. But now, I just stood there, silently watching. Listen to my explanation, Sophia. I originally liked her, but until that day at the wedding venue, when I couldn't find you, I panicked, I suddenly couldn't imagine life without you. It was then that I understood, I like you. I sneered. His repeated lies had made me unable to distinguish which words were true, which false. Ethan, if you really liked me, you wouldn't disappoint me again and again. Even less would you toy with me using something like a wedding. Ethan, we have no chance, please don't disturb my life anymore. He shook his head, holding my hand, not letting go. I know all this is my fault, I was wrong. Can you give me another chance to compensate you? This time, I'll change all the wishes on the wish list to yours, okay? Hearing him say this, an inexplicable nausea surged in my heart. Too lazy to deal with him, I directly went into the elevator. Thereafter, every day Ethan's flowers would arrive punctually at my door. I never kept a single bunch, each time threw into the downstairs trash bin. This day, just as I threw the flowers in, turning, I met Ethan holding a gift box. He looked at the trash bin behind me, his smile somewhat ugly. Sophia, you said before you liked Heart of the Moon, I got one for you, it must look good on you. I looked at him with complex eyes. I didn't know what he was doing. I used to like this necklace a lot, its meaning is good, loving one person for life. Not only expensive, but also needs connections to get. I once begged him, he said it was just a form, found every excuse not to get it for me. Now that we're apart, he knows to buy it for me. In the end, I didn't accept that necklace. Because before Ethan could hand it to me, he received a call and left hastily. I knew whose it was. Fiona. When he answered, I saw the remark. I thought Ethan would give up. But the next day, he appeared downstairs again. I stood on the balcony, making eye contact with Ethan holding a bunch of flowers. Ethan was extremely excited, waving for me to come down. I pretended not to see. But in a few seconds, Ethan appeared at my room door, smiling brightly. Sophia, open the door. My door was knocked loudly. Already someone in the owners group asked who Sophia was. I was furious, opened the door, with no good expression. What are you doing? Do you know this is disturbing the residents? You ignore me. His voice actually had some grievance. Clearly, I was the one betrayed. What is he aggrieved about? I laughed in anger. Ethan, do you know what you're doing now? Don't pretend like you love me so much. It's really fake. His expression froze, somewhat panicked. No, I'm just worried you might be in danger alone. I guard you, I feel at ease. Danger? I sneered. Ethan, you probably forgot what you said before? You said, in this society now, where are so many dangers coming, tell me not to make a big fuss. He blushed. Sorry, before I did wrong. You don't need to apologize. No need. Go accompany your first love. I said coldly. In this short time, the property management I called in advance had come up. After hearing my words, they directly escorted Ethan away. But the matter wasn't over. He fought wits with property staff every day, sneaking in to guard me. When I went out with friends, he would follow behind. Silently, I actually adapted to his presence again. But one day a week later, I parted with friends at the intersection, walking alone on the path. The further I walked, the more panicked my heart. Always felt footsteps behind. But when I stopped, the footsteps disappeared. I thought it was Ethan, boldly called him. But no response. I was a bit scared, directly ran. The footsteps behind immediately became hasty. Facts proved my intuition was correct. I panicked and dialed the emergency contact. Due to previous negligence, the emergency contact hadn't been changed, it was still Ethan's. But he didn't answer. The footsteps behind got closer, my heart panicked terribly. When the third call went through, it finally connected, but it was Fiona's voice. Miss Sophia, Ethan is already very tired, please don't disturb him anymore, okay? In the last moment before the call hung up, I heard Ethan's indifferent voice, ignore her. Let her die. Overwhelming despair surged, my body suddenly filled with weakness, finally fell to the ground, lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I learned it was Adrian who saved me. He somehow heard about Ethan entangled with me, worried, so always paid attention to my movements. Every night he would go downstairs to guard. Last night, seeing my room light not turning on for long, calling me and it was busy, felt wrong, came out to find me, just saw me fall to the ground, fainted, so saved me. I was about to ask the nurse to call Adrian who went to pay, but Ethan hurriedly arrived. At this time, he was unshaven, whole person extremely decadent. The instant he saw me, his eyes reddened, guilt filling his eyes. Sorry, I really didn't know this would happen. What you heard that night wasn't like that, she tricked me to the hospital with illness. That sentence wasn't directed at you, it was her, she lied she was dying, that's why I said that, I didn't expect your call came just then. She took my phone when I wasn't noticing, when I saw her answer, I thought it was her phone, never thought it was you. He explained forcefully. I shifted my gaze, staring blankly at the ceiling. I should have known long ago, right? He said afraid I'd encounter danger, to protect me. But every time I encountered danger, he wasn't by my side. Moreover, why did he mistake the phone? Because in Fiona's wish list, they bought couple phones, appearances very similar, so he mistook. I calmly said, we have no relationship now, Ethan, who you want to see is your freedom unrelated to me. His face full of pain, couldn't say a word, just the regret in his eyes extremely glaring. He wanted to reach to touch my face, but I avoided. I closed my eyes, don't touch me. I don't want to see you anymore, please leave. He held my hand slightly trembling, sorry, I trusted her too much, she was fine, it was me who betrayed you again. Give me one more chance, okay? Last time. I shook off his hand, took a deep breath, Ethan, part amicably, don't make me look down on you. He stood up, face dejected. He opened his mouth wanting to say more, but meeting my cold eyes, instantly deflated. Just then, Adrian came in. He looked at Ethan firmly, she doesn't want to see you now, please leave. Ethan didn't want to leave. I ignored him, looking at the food box in Adrian's hand, eyes curved. What goodies did you bring? Is there tomato and egg? Adrian smiled, laid out the dishes from the box. Knew you like this, made it for you, and sweet and sour pork. Adrian said, turned to look at Ethan who hadn't moved, voice cold, you were together 10 years, do you know her preferences? Sometimes I really admire you, Where do you get such thick skin? Ethan's expression changed again and again, finally left dejectedly. Afterward, we tacitly didn't mention Ethan. Thereafter, Ethan never appeared again. Except for the unmovable flowers and gifts on every holiday. And when I got off work late, walking home at midnight, the silent shadow following behind. Until Adrian and I walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau, he rushed out desperately, crazily grabbed my arm, questioned me. Because he later knew that wedding was for him to see, so he always knew Adrian and I weren't truly together. But at this moment, he knew I was really going to be with Adrian. He broke down. His crazed appearance resembled me a few years ago. Facing his question, my answer was simple: that time he saved me, I like him too. He seemed to understand everything, bitterly smiled, shook his head and left. A few days later, we set the wedding date. Adrian said that previous wedding was too simple, unworthy of me, wants to hold a grand wedding for me anew. This time, this wedding is completely mine.